Nothing cuts quite like finding out someone has been whispering behind your back. It's not a visible wound, but it stings deeper than most physical blows. Gossip is like an invisible dagger. It slides quietly between the ribs, and by the time you notice it, the damage has already been done. What makes it even worse is that it often comes not from your enemies, but from the people you once trusted, your friends, your coworkers, even your own family. It's the soft smile that hides sharp words, the polite nod from someone who has already judged you, the sideways glance that makes you wonder what story they've been told. And in that moment, when you realize you are the subject of hushed tones and twisted tales, a storm rises inside you. Every instinct screams to fight back, to clear your name, to demand the truth, to prove your innocence. It feels unbearable to let the lies live unchecked. After all, who wants to be misrepresented? Who wants to be reduced to someone else's narrative? The urge to react is human. The need to defend is natural. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The more we react to gossip, the more power we give it. This is where the Stoics flipped the script. They understood gossip for what it truly is: background noise, a test of self-control, a trap for the ego. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, men who faced slander, betrayal, and mockery on scales far greater than ours, knew that meeting gossip with rage or desperation only enslaves you further to it. They taught that true strength is measured not by how loudly you protest, but by how calmly you stand. Not silence out of fear, but silence that flows from unshakable confidence. Think about it. Gossip thrives on reaction. It feeds off your outrage, your explanations, your desperate need to be understood. Without your energy, it starves. Without your attention, it withers. The Stoic path isn't about pretending words don't hurt. They do. But it's about refusing to hand over your peace of mind to whispers that were never worth your energy in the first place. In this journey, we will explore 6 Stoic strategies for facing gossip and slander. These are not abstract theories tucked away in dusty philosophy books. They are living tools, tested by time, sharpened by fire, and proven in the lives of men and women who chose discipline over drama. You'll learn why chasing down every rumor only weakens you, and how silence can become the loudest answer of all. You'll see how even venomous words can contain fragments of truth that, if faced with honesty, can make you stronger. You'll discover the power of focusing only on what you can control and letting go of the rest. You'll be reminded that misunderstanding is not just possible but inevitable, and why building tolerance for it may be one of the greatest strengths you'll ever develop. And finally, you'll understand why time and character always outlast gossip, why the steady rhythm of your life speaks louder than any rumor ever could. This is not about learning clever comebacks or playing reputation games. This is about building a fortress within yourself, calm, steady, and untouchable. It's about standing tall in a noisy world without letting the noise decide who you are. It's about reclaiming your peace, your focus, and your dignity in the face of betrayal. So if you've ever been wounded by words spoken in the shadows, if you've ever felt the sting of being misrepresented, this message is for you. Stay with me, because what follows could change not just how you deal with gossip, but how you carry yourself in every trial of life. And before we dive in, let me ask you this. Has gossip ever tested you, pushed you to the edge of your patience, or forced you to see who really stands with you? If it has, drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. If these words resonate, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it today, and most importantly, subscribe to True Stoic Way. Together, we're building a community rooted in clarity, resilience, and unshakable wisdom. Because your peace isn't up for negotiation, and here we learn how to protect it. Strategy 1, don't chase every rumor. Imagine this. You walk into a room and notice the atmosphere shift. A few people glance at you, then quickly look away. Conversations soften as if they've just ended, but you know they haven't. Later, someone tells you what's been said, a rumor, half-truth, or outright lie. Maybe it paints you as arrogant, difficult, dishonest, or untrustworthy. Instantly, your body reacts. Your chest tightens, your jaw clenches. Every fiber of your being screams, "Set the record straight." Clear your name. Don't let them think that about you. It feels like the only way to regain control is to explain yourself, to fight back, to confront the whispers head on. But here's the cruel trap. The very moment you rush to defend yourself, you've already lost. You've given the rumor legs, and worse, you've handed your peace of mind over to those who don't deserve it. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They knew that gossip is not just about what is said. It's about how you respond. Every rumor is bait. Every whisper is an invitation into a battle you cannot win. For even if you manage to silence one rumor, another will take its place. The more you chase, the more you signal that you are fragile, easily shaken, desperate to be seen a certain way. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced slander from political rivals and betrayal from those closest to him, left us a timeless reminder. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In other words, the most powerful response to gossip isn't a response at all. It's refusing to become the very thing gossip wants to make you: reactive, defensive, and consumed by noise. Think about the psychology of it. When someone gossips about you, what they truly seek is not truth, it's control. They want to see you flinch. They want your emotions to betray you. They want your energy wasted in proving them wrong. But when you don't take the bait, when you remain calm, focused, and unshaken, they lose their grip. Your silence isn't weakness, it's dominance. Consider the workplace one of the most fertile grounds for gossip. Picture this: you're dedicated, you deliver results, but someone whispers that you're difficult to work with. Suddenly colleagues act colder, whispers follow you into meetings. The temptation is to storm in, demand names, and fight for your reputation. Maybe you even consider writing a long email defending yourself. But what does that really accomplish? At best, you win an argument. At worst, you confirm the rumor by showing how much it rattles you. Either way, you spend your time and energy on a battle that only deepens your frustration. The Stoic response is different. Instead of pouring energy into explanations, you double down on your work. You let your performance speak for itself. You continue treating people with respect. You remain steady, calm, professional. Over time, the lie runs out of oxygen. The rumor loses its edge. People notice the truth, not because you shouted it, but because you lived it. This doesn't mean you tolerate injustice or allow others to walk over you. It means you choose your battles with wisdom. It means you refuse to fight shadows while abandoning the light of your own integrity. Silence, in this case, is not retreat. It is a statement. I am not defined by your whispers. I am defined by my actions. And here's the deeper truth. Consistency dismantles gossip better than any speech ever could. When you show up each day aligned with your values, delivering results, treating others with fairness, the contrast between who you are and what is said about you becomes too great to ignore. Lies dissolve under the weight of evidence. What remains is credibility, something no rumor can destroy. So the next time you hear that your name is being twisted in places you've never even stepped, pause. Ask yourself, will stepping into this battle serve me or only drain me? More often than not, the answer is clear. Let your actions rise above the noise. Let your calm be your protest. Let your work, your discipline, and your integrity be the reply that no gossip can compete with. Because in the end, the Stoic way isn't about proving people wrong with words. It's about living in such a way that their lies collapse under their own weight. But silence doesn't mean you turn away from every word said about you. Sometimes, even in the poison, there's a fragment of truth worth examining. And that leads us to the next strategy. One of the hardest, but also the most transformative. But what if hidden inside those cruel whispers lies a truth you need to face? Strategy 2. Examine if there's any truth you can use. Here's the uncomfortable truth about gossip. Sometimes, hidden beneath the exaggerations, venom, and malice, lies a fragment of reality we would rather not face. Not every rumor is pure fiction. Some carry the faint echo of behaviors we've overlooked, blind spots we've ignored, or habits we've downplayed. This doesn't make gossip fair, and it doesn't excuse the cruelty of those who spread it. But as the Stoics remind us, what matters is not whether the world treats you fairly. It rarely does. But whether you use every circumstance, even painful ones, as fuel for growth. Seneca once wrote that even insults can be useful when stripped of their malice. Why? Because they sometimes expose truths we are unwilling to admit on our own. To most people, that idea feels intolerable. Who wants to dignify gossip by considering whether it might be pointing to a flaw? But that is exactly why the Stoic response is rare and powerful. It requires humility. It demands a steadiness of mind that refuses to be blinded by pride or drowned by hurt. Think about the usual cycle of gossip. You hear a rumor. You get angry. You deny it. You defend yourself. You replay the words over and over in your mind. The ego hates the idea that anyone could think less of us. But the ego also blinds us to lessons we might need. The Stoic instead pauses. They don't spiral into shame or self-doubt, nor do they lash out in pride. They ask one simple but transformative question. Is there anything here I need to work on? Let's ground this in an example. Imagine someone spreads gossip that you are arrogant. At first, your blood boils. You know how hard you've worked. You know you've carried yourself with dignity. Arrogant, you think? That's completely false. But after the sting fades, you replay certain moments. That time you interrupted a colleague mid-sentence. That meeting where you brushed aside a junior employee's suggestion without really listening. That day you snapped at someone because you were stressed. Suddenly the word arrogant doesn't feel like a full description of you, but it does point to certain shadows of behavior you'd rather not admit. That's the discipline Stoicism demands. Not that you swallow gossip whole, but that you sift through the mess with calm precision. You extract what's useful and discard the rest. You refuse to be poisoned by the venom, but you also refuse to ignore the nutrients hidden inside it. Consider the story of Rachel, a mid-level manager. She began hearing whispers that her team found her hard to approach. At first, she dismissed it as politics, jealous colleagues, office games, petty resentment. But the frequency of the gossip bothered her. Instead of confronting her team in anger or sending out defensive emails, she decided to step back and reflect. She replayed her recent one-on-one meetings. She remembered how rushed she had been, how often she checked her phone mid-conversation, how she snapped at an intern when a report came in late. Slowly, the picture became clear. She wasn't intentionally cruel, but she had been shutting people out without realizing it. Rachel didn't change because gossip forced her to. She changed because there was a sliver of truth worth facing. She made adjustments, listened more carefully, gave people her full attention, softened her tone when under pressure. Over time, her reputation recovered, not because she silenced the gossip, but because she grew beyond it. This is the Stoic approach. Use gossip, don't be used by it. Most people let gossip trap them in emotional spirals, anger, bitterness, resentment. But the Stoic treats gossip as a mirror. Even if it's cracked and distorted, it may still reflect something worth noticing. The discipline is not in believing every rumor, but in being willing to ask, what if there's a fragment of truth here? This kind of reflection requires courage. It means lowering your defenses long enough to see yourself honestly. It means refusing to let pride build walls around your flaws. And it means choosing growth over comfort. Because ultimately, the Stoic isn't concerned with looking good, they're concerned with being good. So the next time you hear gossip about yourself, resist the urge to dismiss it entirely or to obsess over it. Instead, take a moment. Sit with the discomfort. Ask, does this criticism echo any behavior I've been ignoring? Is there something I can learn here? If yes, make the change quietly, consistently, without drama. If no, let it go. Either way, you've turned gossip into fuel for clarity. And that's the kind of transformation Stoicism offers. Turning poison into medicine, turning betrayal into an opportunity for self-mastery. If this lesson resonates, don't keep it to yourself. Drop your thoughts below in the comments. Share your story, how gossip once hurt you, or how you used it to sharpen yourself. And subscribe to True Stoic Way, where we're building a community that turns even poison into wisdom. Because here's the truth. Not everything people say about you is true. But wisdom is in the willingness to look, to test, to grow. That is how you turn even the ugliest human behavior into a tool for clarity. And yet, even after you've sifted through the noise and extracted what's useful, one question remains, perhaps the most important of all. Yet even after you've sifted through the noise, one question remains: what can you truly control? Strategy 3. Focus on your circle of control. One of the most exhausting traps in life is trying to control how others see you. When gossip spreads, the natural instinct is to run around putting out fires, explaining yourself, correcting the lies, repairing your image. You want people to know the truth. You want to force their perception to align with your reality. But here's the hard fact: you can't. You cannot control who talks about you, what they say, or how others interpret it. And the more energy you spend trying, the further you drift from your true source of strength. The Stoics understood this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius, who lived under the constant gaze of rivals, soldiers, and citizens of Rome, reminded himself again and again that the only thing within our power is our own mind, our thoughts, our actions, our response. Everything else, opinions, gossip, reputation, is outside our control. That realization is both humbling and liberating. Because when you stop obsessing over what others say, you free yourself to focus on what you can actually shape: your character. Picture this. You work in a competitive office. A rumor begins circulating that you've been taking credit for someone else's success. You know it isn't true. You've worked hard, acknowledged others, given credit where it's due. But the whispers spread. Suddenly, your reputation feels fragile, and you're tempted to confront it head-on. Maybe call a meeting, maybe send an email defending yourself. That's the impulse most people follow. They fight the fire with frantic words. But here's what usually happens. The more you try to put out the rumor, the more you signal that you're burning. People begin to wonder why you're so desperate to defend yourself. Your energy goes into the story others have created, not into the work that defines you. The Stoic response flips the script. Instead of spending your energy trying to rewrite someone else's version of your life, you reinvest it in the life you are actually living. You keep showing up. You keep doing your work well. You keep supporting your team. You live in such a way that over time the rumor collapses under the weight of reality. This is not passivity. It is strategy. By focusing on what you can control, your integrity, your consistency, your discipline, you build credibility that gossip cannot touch. The more consistent your actions, the clearer the truth becomes, until lies lose their grip. Let's break this down into practice. Integrity. Align your behavior with your values, whether anyone is watching or not. Gossip thrives on contradictions. Integrity starves it. Consistency. Show up the same way day after day. People may doubt your words, but they cannot deny your patterns. Discipline. Refuse to let emotions pull you into battles you can't win. Save your energy for what actually matters. When you live within this circle of control, you experience a quiet kind of victory. It doesn't always come quickly. It doesn't satisfy the ego the way a fiery rebuttal might, but it builds something more powerful: credibility. And credibility, once earned, is almost impossible to destroy. Think of it like this: reputation is what others say about you, but character is what you repeatedly prove about yourself. Gossip can damage reputation in the short term, but it cannot erase character. And when people see the two side by side, rumor versus reality, reality always outlasts. This doesn't mean it's easy. It takes strength to hold your ground when your instinct is to react. It takes patience to let time reveal what you wish people could see right now. But the Stoic knows that winning the short battle isn't worth losing the long war. Silence and steady living may not feel like weapons, but they are. And they cut deeper than any rumor. So the next time you feel the temptation to manage opinions, to chase approval, to silence every false word, pause. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. Reinvest your energy where it matters, on your work, your values, your discipline, because that's where true strength is found. When you shift from obsessing over what others think to focusing on how you live, something profound happens. You stop being reactive. You stop being fragile. You become untouchable, not because the world has stopped attacking you, but because you've stopped handing over your power. That is the Stoic victory, not in controlling the noise around you, but in mastering the one thing you always command: yourself. But even when you stay disciplined, even when you focus only on what is within your control, there is another storm waiting. And it can cut even deeper than lies. It's not just about gossip. It's about being misunderstood, judged unfairly, and cast as the villain in someone else's story. But even when you stay disciplined, there's another storm waiting: the pain of being misunderstood. Strategy 4. Strengthen your tolerance for misunderstanding. No matter how carefully you live, no matter how honest or disciplined you are, one truth is unavoidable: you will be misunderstood. Someone will twist your words. Someone will assume the worst about your motives. Someone will cast you as the villain in their version of the story. It's not a possibility, it's a guarantee. And the more you stand out, the more you challenge norms, the more visible your life becomes, the easier it is for others to project their own issues onto you. This can feel devastating. You can be doing everything right, working with integrity, showing kindness, acting with purpose, and still, people will get you wrong. They'll call your discipline arrogance, your boundaries cruelty, your silence indifference. The irony is sharp. The very qualities that protect your peace may make you appear cold to those who don't understand. Why does this happen? Because people rarely see us as we truly are. They see us through the filter of their own fears, insecurities, and expectations. If you change your lifestyle, they may feel judged. If you succeed, they may feel threatened. If you stop tolerating manipulation, they may call you difficult. Their version of you is less about your character and more about their reflection in your presence. The temptation, of course, is to rush in and correct them, to explain yourself until they finally see your heart. But here's where Stoicism speaks a hard truth. The more you chase approval, the more you forfeit your peace. The more you try to be understood by everyone, the more you entangle yourself in battles you can never win. Marcus Aurelius never sought applause. He never measured his worth by how others judged him. Instead, he sought only one thing: alignment with his values. His question was not, do they understand me? But, am I living in harmony with reason and virtue? That is the Stoic lens. When your conscience is clear, when your actions align with your principles, that is enough, even if others never see it. This doesn't mean it won't hurt. To be misunderstood is to feel invisible, unseen, misrepresented. But the Stoic doesn't deny the sting. They simply refuse to let it control their choices. They accept misunderstanding as part of the human condition, as inevitable as the weather. Just as you wouldn't rage against the rain, why rage against another's misperception? The practical shift is simple but powerful. Stop striving to be universally understood. It is impossible. Instead, strive to be consistently aligned with your values. If some misinterpret that, so be it. Their judgment is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is your own integrity. Think of it this way: if you build your peace on being understood, your peace will crumble the moment someone misjudges you. But if you build your peace on living by principle, no misunderstanding can take it away. You are free, not because everyone applauds you, but because you no longer need their applause. This is not resignation, it is liberation. When you stop wasting energy on trying to control perception, you reclaim energy for what truly matters: living with purpose. You learn to stand tall, even when others miscast you. You learn to be steady, even when others throw stones of assumption. You learn to walk forward without needing to correct every false impression. Does this mean you should never explain yourself? No. Sometimes clarity is necessary, especially in relationships built on trust. But the Stoic warns against making explanation your default posture. If someone is committed to misunderstanding you, no explanation will save you. And if someone is open to truth, your consistent behavior will speak louder than your words ever could. So the next time you feel that ache, the ache of being misrepresented, pause. Remember, you don't owe the world an endless defense. You owe yourself the discipline of staying true. Accept misunderstanding as part of the cost of living authentically. The stronger you grow, the louder you stand out, the more you'll be misunderstood. But that's not a reason to shrink. It's proof you're alive, moving and living differently than the crowd. The Stoic strength isn't in being admired by all, but in being unshaken by the inevitable distortion of others. You don't live for their narrative, you live for your truth. And that brings us to the next question. If you can't always explain yourself into clarity, if you can't rely on others to see you fairly, what hope remains? How do you dismantle lies, survive rumors, and outlast distortion? So if explanations can't save you, what will? The answer lies in two forces that never fail: time and character. Strategy 5. Let time and character dismantle the lies. There comes a moment, after the storm of gossip has raged and the whispers have grown loud, when the dust finally begins to settle. And in that silence, you realize something profound. Gossip is temporary, but character is permanent. Lies echo for a time, but they cannot endure. Not when they collide with the steady rhythm of a life lived with integrity. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. They never believed in chasing down every false word. They believed in living in such a way that time itself would do the work for them. Because time has a remarkable power. It reveals. People can fake charm for a season. They can fake competence for a while. But no one can fake consistency. And consistency, more than anything else, dismantles the lies. Consider the story of Michael, a project manager tasked with leading a struggling team. From day one, he brought structure, honesty, and accountability. He was firm, but fair. He gave credit where it was due, but he refused to tolerate excuses. At first, his direct style rattled some team members. They weren't used to such clarity. Whispers began. He's too harsh. He's power-hungry. He's difficult to work with. The gossip spread quickly, and for a while, it stuck. Now, Michael could have chosen to fight back. He could have written lengthy justifications, called out the rumors, or softened his approach to win favor. But he didn't. Instead, he stayed steady. He kept showing up with the same honesty, the same accountability, the same discipline. Over weeks and months, something happened. The team's performance improved. Projects that once missed deadlines now hit their marks. Trust began to grow. Respect deepened. And the truth surfaced. Not because Michael shouted it into existence, but because he proved it day after day. Eventually, the gossip faded. His reputation didn't just recover, it solidified. People realized that what they once called harshness was actually fairness. What they mistook as power-hungry was simply responsibility. The rumors lost their power because they could no longer compete with the evidence of his character. This is the Stoic way. You don't defeat lies with louder arguments. You defeat them with steady, undeniable proof. Time and character are the most patient weapons in your arsenal. They may not give you the instant satisfaction your ego craves, but they always deliver a lasting victory. Think about it. When someone spreads gossip about you, the weak response is to scramble, to explain, to beg for belief. That's insecurity. But the strong response is to let your life answer the accusations. That's resilience. The insecure try to control the story. The strong trust that the truth revealed over time will outlast every distortion. Consistency is the quiet proof no rumor can compete with. When your actions line up with your values over and over again, people begin to notice. They may have believed the lie at first, but lies wither in the face of evidence. Reality always wins the long game, and the longer you stay true to your principles, the clearer the contrast becomes between gossip and truth. This doesn't mean waiting passively while people tear you down. It means actively living in alignment with your character, working with integrity, treating others with respect, holding yourself accountable, and refusing to compromise your values. That steady rhythm builds credibility, and credibility is far louder than gossip. Remember this. People may forget what they heard about you, but they won't forget how you made them feel when you remained calm, steady, and real through it all. Gossip fades, character endures. If you believe in letting your life, not your words, be the answer, support True Stoic Way. Subscribe and walk this path with us. Because here, we don't waste our energy fighting shadows. We live in a way that makes the shadows vanish on their own. And that brings us to the final lesson. If silence is power, if consistency dismantles lies, then what remains is the greatest Stoic truth of all. Because in the end, Stoicism reminds us, the truth has a longer life than gossip. Strategy 6, let your life do the talking. At the end of all the noise, all the whispers, and all the rumors, one truth stands unshaken. Your life speaks louder than your words ever will. Gossip may circle for weeks, months, even years, but it cannot survive in the presence of consistent character. Lies are quick and loud. Truth is quiet and enduring. That is why the Stoics place so little emphasis on explanation and so much on living. The essence of Stoic resilience is this: you don't need endless justifications, clever comebacks, or grand displays of defense. What you need is the steady rhythm of a life aligned with principle. Silence, when paired with integrity, becomes a language louder than any rebuttal. You don't tell people who you are, you show them, day after day. Think of how gossip works. It thrives in the shadows, in speculation, in the absence of proof. But when proof is everywhere, in your work, in your discipline, in your relationships, it starves. The people who matter begin to see the difference between rumor and reality, and the ones who never take the time to see, they were never your audience to begin with. This is the final Stoic move, to let your life do the talking. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently. To walk with such clarity of purpose that distortion cannot hold up against the evidence. To be so steady in your discipline that even those who doubt you at first must eventually admit the truth. Don't fight fire with fire. Fight it with patience, purpose, and proof. Fire consumes itself. Lies collapse under their own weight. But patience, paired with the quiet evidence of a principled life, endures. Purpose keeps you focused when distraction tempts you. Proof through the actions you take every day is the answer no rumor can erase. Consider the people you respect most. It isn't their speeches that made them unforgettable. It was the consistency of their conduct, the integrity of their choices, the calm strength with which they carried themselves in the face of doubt. Words are forgotten. Character is remembered. And so it will be with you. This doesn't mean pretending gossip doesn't hurt. It does. But pain is not the point. The point is power, choosing not to let gossip dictate your energy or your identity. When you stop fighting shadows and start living in light, you stop being reactive and start being unshakable. Every whisper about you is temporary. Every rumor is short-lived. But the way you live, the discipline you show, the respect you give, the steadiness you embody, creates an impression no gossip can undo. People may forget the words said behind your back, but they will never forget how you made them feel when you stood tall in silence, when you carried yourself with grace, when you refused to let the noise define you. This is what the Stoics meant by strength. Not loud retaliation, but quiet proof. Not desperate explanations, but consistent integrity. Not being admired by all, but being true to yourself in all circumstances. So let the talkers talk. Let the whispers circulate. You have better things to do. Build your focus. Guard your peace. Live in such a way that the very fabric of your life becomes undeniable. Because when the dust settles, it is not the gossip that will remain. It is your character. And that is the final step before we bring everything together. We've explored 6 Stoic strategies for dealing with gossip: refusing to chase rumors, extracting hidden truth, focusing on your circle of control, tolerating misunderstanding, trusting time and character, and finally letting your life speak for itself. But now comes the ultimate reminder, the conclusion that ties them all together and leaves you with the clearest path forward. We've walked through 6 Stoic strategies for handling gossip, each one a shield against the silent daggers of betrayal. 1. Don't chase every rumor. Refuse to play the endless game of explanation. Let the lies burn themselves out. 2. Look for hidden truth. Even poison may carry a fragment of medicine. Extract the lesson without swallowing the venom. 3. Focus on your circle of control. Reinvest your energy in what you can shape: your thoughts, your actions, your discipline. 4. Tolerate misunderstanding. Accept that being misrepresented is inevitable. Your peace cannot depend on universal approval. 5. Let time and character speak. Consistency dismantles gossip better than any rebuttal ever could. 6. Let your life do the talking. Build such integrity that even whispers collapse against the undeniable proof of how you live. Together, These principles form a blueprint not just for surviving gossip, but for transcending it. They remind us that the Stoic path is not about retaliation or reputation. It's about peace. It's about clarity. It's about standing so firmly in your truth that no rumor, no whisper, no distortion can pull you off course. The world will always chatter. People will always invent stories. But you are not here to fight every shadow. You are here to build something stronger. A life so steady, so principled, that it outlasts every lie. That is what the Stoics meant by resilience. Not the absence of pain, but the refusal to let pain dictate your purpose. So choose peace over pettiness. Choose truth over noise. Choose to live as a Stoic fortress, calm, strong, and unshakable. Let your silence be strength, your patience be protest, and your consistency be proof. That is how you dismantle gossip without saying a word. And now, brothers and sisters of True Stoic Way, if this message gave you strength, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Tell your story in the comments. We read every single one. Together we rise above the noise, and together we live by truth. Because in the end, gossip fades, but character endures. And that is the final Stoic move.